بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين وصحبه المنتجبين. We said that the main problems that we have are not very complicated. You don't need to look for something very strange, something unheard, unknown that can solve your problems. Sometimes the problems are not solved because they are very easy, and you don't expect that there is such a kind of easy problem with easy solution. So you look everywhere for a special doctor, a special medicine, a special hospital, not knowing that just maybe a change in your diet can solve your problem. There's a story that a person said, for many years I had problem. Whenever I had sweet tea, in Iran we have chai shirin, normally for breakfast. Rest of the day we take qand, but in breakfast we mix sugar with. So he said, for many years I had pain in my eye whenever I had chai shirin. I went to all eye specialists, They said, this has not yet been addressed by scientists, how having, sweet tea can cause pain in your eye. So then he heard there is a person who is very wise and experienced, said, let me ask him. So he said, okay, show me how you have your chai shirin. So he took a cup of tea, put sugar and mixed it, and started drinking. Then he said, oh, it seems that you don't take out the spoon. And every time that you are taking this, the spoon is going to your eye. But you are not noticing. So no doctor, no hospital could help him because it was very easy. Everyone was looking for something very complicated, testing blood, all these things. So I think many of our problems are just like this, but we cannot notice because it's something that we are used to it. Sometimes you have your glasses and still you look for your glasses. Where are my glasses? So the main thing that we need is to accept Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as our Rabb. And this is not something that you just say. You repeat, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim al-Bihamd, Subhana Rabbi al-A'la al-Bihamd. Ya Rab, Ya Rab. This is not something you just say. This is not just something you just believe. This is the way you live, the way you understand your position in this world. And this is the meaning of remembrance. Dhikr is not something about only mind. Normally when you say, I remember something, it means that you have it in your mind. For example, do you remember this address? Do you remember this person? Do you remember this poem? It's just about your mind. But when we say remembrance of Allah, it's not just remembering your mind. It's more than that. Because you can remember something in your mind and still hate it. For example, if you have an enemy, you can always remember him. But this is not dhikr in Quranic understanding. Shaitan always remembers God in this sense, because he is trying to stop people going to Allah. So he has to remember God, and he has to remember believers in God, and has to remember all the time how to stop them. This is not dhikr. Dhikr is remembrance by mind, but with openness of heart, with having a sense of joy in your heart about what you remember. If something you remember but makes you worried, this is not dhikr. Quran says there are people that when Allah is mentioned, ishma'azzat qulubuhum, their hearts become full of dislike. Okay, so they remember God in literal sense, but in the Quranic sense, they don't remember God. In Quranic sense, their heart is, very, hard and very harsh. They cannot remember God. So, remembrance is to remember by your mind, but also have openness in your heart. In other words, to let what you remember by your mind settle in your heart. Give a space to what you remember in your heart. When you love someone, for example, your parents, your children, your husband, your wife, your friend, it's not just you have a memory of them. So I remember them. No, it's more than that. It means that you have given them a place in your heart. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no place more special for him than hearts of the believers. No place in this planet or in galaxies would be suitable for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala like hearts of believers. There is a beautiful hadith Qudsi. La yasa'uni ardi wala sama'i, walakin yasa'uni qalbu abdi al-mu'min. Neither my sky nor my earth can contain me. You think a sky is very large. If there is anything to contain Allah, must be a sky. But no. Only the heart of a believing servant of mine can contain me. Of course, this is not by restricting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but by being a place that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can settle in. So, dhikr, in my understanding, is you remember something by your mind, but also open your heart for what you remember out of love, with joy. The main obstacle for having such experience is when your heart is not opening up for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When your heart is closed. And I think this is the greatest challenge. What makes someone's heart closed? Why we sometimes fail to do something which is the most natural thing for us, and that is to let Allah come and settle in our heart. For us should be nothing more natural than this, because we owe everything to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah? Someone who has given us everything. Imagine if you have been an orphan and someone from your birth has looked after all your needs. And now you look at yourself. You are brought up nicely. You have been educated. You have position. You have respect. You have family. You have children. But you remember that this person all these years have looked after you. How much you feel grateful to this person. You think you owe him everything. You just want to find an opportunity to demonstrate to that person your gratitude. And still this person is not your creator. He just has looked after you were born. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created me, has created my parents, my friends, my brothers, my sisters, my children, everyone that I love, everything that I love. He has created, He has given me. So for me, the most natural thing is to love Him. Why we fail to love Him? What is wrong in our heart? This is something that we have to find out. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَوَيْلٌ لِلْقَاسِيَةِ قُلُوبُهُمْ مِنْ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. Why? Why heart becomes hard? There are different ways to answer this question. Maybe one good answer for today is, unfortunately, we are easily deceived. Unfortunately, we are very easy in forgetting. And Shaitan uses this. Easily make us forget what Allah has done for us, forget our need for Him, and tells you you can do your things on your own. إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَيَطْغَى أَنْ رَآهُ اسْتَغْنَى. This is one of the major problems. As soon as you are in a good condition, you have health, you have money, you have respect, you have family, children, everything is going well. This is the time that you have to be most grateful. Then you become most forgetful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you take things for granted, or you think that these are for you because you are special. You are very clever, you are very nice, and this is why you have this. Like the story of Qarun, that when people told him, ابتغ فيما آتاك الله الدار الآخرة ولا تنس نصيبك من الدنيا. Try to do something for your akhirah with what Allah has given you. Don't forget that you can only benefit a little. Why you want so much money? Spend this money for Allah's sake. What did he say? He said, إِنَّمَا أُوتِيتُهُ عَلَىٰ عِلْمٍ مِّنْ عِنْدِي. Who said this is given to me by God? I was very good in business. I worked hard. I took risk. And this is why now I am rich. So, we unfortunately forget or become heedless quickly. And if you have the strongest person, when he is heedless, even weakest people can defeat him. If they are both awake and alert, the weak person cannot defeat a strong person. If someone comes and tells you, fight your father, fight your mother, when you are alert, you never do that. But when you are in ghaflah, you may even harm your father. You may harm your mother. When we are in ghaflah, we disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and listen to shaitan. One of the most, I think, odd things in the world is we listen to shaitan when he asks us to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alam a'had ilaykum ya bani Adam Allah ta'budu shaitan innahu lakum aduwwun mubin. This is a covenant, and Allah has made this clear for us. We should not worship, we should not serve shaitan. Innahu lakum aduwwun mubin. Shaitan is your enemy. It is true that we say shaitan is enemy of God. But if there is any enmity between shaitan and God, it's because of us. Because shaitan wants to deceive us, then he's an enemy of God. Otherwise, he cannot harm Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Innahu lakum aduwwun mubin. So why we listen to aduwwun mubin? Someone who is a clear enemy, why we listen? Because of ghafla, because of forgetfulness. So, when we forget what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done for us, and we take things for granted, and we little by little develop a sense of ego and arrogance, and we think, I am now strong, I am now well established, I have now my position, my qualifications, my children, then you become, unfortunately, forgetful. This can happen to individuals. This can happen also to societies. Some societies, when they are developed, when they are affluent and rich, they start going away from God. And they think they can solve every problem with science, with management, with technology, and they forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what we need is to be always, as much as possible, conscious, alert, awake. All people who have taught or wrote about spirituality, they say the very first thing that we have to do is to wake up. Yaqzah. You have to wake up. Some say this is first station. Some say this is not even first station. This is the departure point. First station comes after this. Because before this, you have not moved. So Yaqzah is like departure. After that, the first station comes. So what we need to do is to keep reminding ourselves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's blessings. Musa alayhi salam has many beautiful conversations with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we have received through our hadith as hadith Qudsi. One hadith which is mentioned in many books is the hadith that Allah said to Musa, Ya Musa, Habbibni ila khalqi. Make my people love me. He said, how? Allah said, Dhakkirhum bi'alai. Remind them of my blessings, my bounties. So, If we want to summarize everything that we have to do in one word, we can say dhikr, remembrance of Allah, which by itself involves choosing Allah as your Lord and following Him. You cannot have dhikr of Allah without having Him your Lord. You cannot have dhikr of Allah by sinning. This is why we say in Dua Kumail, Allahumma inni ataqarrabu ilayka bidhikrik. I seek nearness to you by your remembrance. Ya man ismuhu dawa wa dhikruhu shafa. Allah's names are medicine, but His remembrance is healing. Why? Because if you don't take the medicine, you are not healed. Names of Allah have to be taken. If I just repeat by my tongue the names of Allah, it's like mentioning the name of medicine. Mentioning the name of medicine without taking it is not solving my problem. Dhikruhu shafa. If dhikruhu shafa, now you can understand by implication that what is illness? What is illness? Forgetting Him. Forgetting Him is the root of all problems. And remembering Him is the final solution. This is why when it comes to everything, there is a limit except dhikr. Hadith says, everything has a limit, but there is no limit for dhikr. How much we should remember Allah? So that it doesn't become, for example, excessive. Dhikr can never become excessive. Repeating names, yes, can become excessive. For example, I am talking to you, then I keep, invocating by my tongue. It can be something annoying you. Sometimes can be disrespectful. But remembrance of Allah as a condition of heart has no limit. Remember Allah in all circumstances. Dhikri hasanun ala kulli hal. Even if you are in a place that sometimes you feel maybe embarrassed to remember Allah. But even there are a special dhikr to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Never feel embarrassed to remember. Feel embarrassed not to remember. Quran says, Udhkurullaha kathiran. What does kathiran mean? Pardon? Means as much as possible. Udhkurullaha kathiran doesn't mean udhkurullah once or twice. Udhkurullah kathiran means as much as possible. When it comes to quantity. And when it comes to quality, you should remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala كَذِكْرِكُمْ آبَاءَكُمْ أَوْ أَشَدَّ ذِكْرًا. How much you love your parents? Or even more. So there is no limit in the quantity and no limit in quality of remembrance of Allah. Because this is the core of spirituality. This is the energy for continuing our journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As soon as we stop in our journey. And indeed we go backward. You have heard this story, which is from Hadith, that in the story of Mi'raj, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw some angels planting trees and then stopping and then planting. And the explanation given was that, for example, when someone is saying zikr, a tree is planted. When he stops, the angels stop. When he mentions another time, remembers Allah another time, another. What does it mean? It means that the person who is remembering Allah, if he stops remembering, means stop producing something valuable. Planting a tree is just a manifestation of that. Reward, some people are very interested in reward. Reward is very good, but more than reward, what is important is improvement in your condition. When you stop remembering Allah, means you are stuck, or we can even say more accurately, you are going backward. Because either you are going up or you are going high. You cannot stay where you are. This is something that has no ideal condition. Either يخرجونهم من الظلمات إلى النور or يخرجونهم من النور إلى الظلمات. There is not someone who has found a station to have rest. Either moving towards light or moving towards darkness. So, remembrance of Allah is something that we should try to have all the time. With heart, with openness. I want to mention just 2-3 challenges. And how much time we have? 20 minutes. Okay. One major challenge is ego. Ego, in principle, is not a bad thing. Hubbul in principle, is not a bad thing. To have self-love, it's not a bad thing. If we didn't have love for ourselves, we would not have bothered about our physical life or spiritual life. We try to improve because we love ourselves. This is good. But the problem is when we start admiring ourselves, when we become obsessed with ourselves, when according to Quran we worship ourselves. أَفَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ. The problem is when I want the whole world to serve me, and I want everyone to help me, to serve me, to benefit me. I look at everything as a means that I can benefit from. Even I look at my children, my family, my friends as something that can benefit me. As if I am the center of the world. And everything is only good if they can benefit me. This is shirk. And more or less, we have this shirk. We suffer this shirk. I love this person more because he has been better with me. Has been more kind to me. Everything is based on me. This me is a problem. And it becomes very, very dangerous when it gets into religious people, especially religious leaders and scholars and activists, because they unknowingly hide themselves behind religion. If I was just a shopkeeper and I was proud of myself and I was, worshipping myself, it couldn't create that much problem. People don't like me, they go to another shop. But if I am an arrogant person who hides his ego behind religion, then either I deceive people and take them away from God, or because of me, people stop coming to religion. In two ways, I can harm. This is very, very difficult. No one should think I am immune. I am pure, I am sincere, I am a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's very difficult. And even if you are guaranteed that today you are sincere, next week you may not be sincere. If as a small teacher or as a small scholar, you are sincere, when you are more established, when you have more followers, more support, more means, you may not be sincere. It's very, very difficult. We have to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and forget ourselves. In a kind of a spiritual terminology, we say to deny yourself. Not in the sense of forgetting what is suitable for you or harmful for you, in the sense that don't look at yourself as God, as Lord, as center of the world, as someone that everyone should adapt himself or herself according to your will. Deny yourself. Deny everything, including yourself. Qulillah thumma dharhum. Leave everything. This is not easy. This is very difficult. And I think till we die, we would never be able to relax. But this is something that needs careful examination. Maybe you say, no, alhamdulillah, I have no problem. If you feel you have no problem, you have greater problem. Anyone in this room, he says, no, I don't have ego, I have no arrogance, I am very humble, very sincere, I am sorry for him. I am very sorry for myself because I know I have problem. But if someone says, I have no problem, I feel more sorry. We all have problem. We have to be honest. We should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us. Especially religious people. Especially parents, teachers, leaders, imams. Those people, look at them as example, as role model. People who follow them. It's very ugly that if we have arrogance, if we have ego, if we have not learned enough to dedicate everything to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is a great challenge. And we should inshallah pray for each other and help each other. Another challenge that alhamdulillah you also mentioned is lack of concentration. Having too many distractions. Especially today. We have lots of opportunities, but many of these opportunities also come with the risk of distraction. You can, for example, today, listen to maybe tens of thousands of radio stations, TV stations, millions or trillions of websites out there. Many people from all over the world you can communicate with. Many things you can read, you can hear. Many places you can go. these are very good opportunities for people who know how to use. But each of these bring great risk of losing concentration, losing orientation. And when it comes to spirituality, one of the most important things is concentration. Because when your attention is divided, the chance of heedlessness becomes high. In Salat, we have this concept very clearly mentioned in our hadith, that only that part of your Salat would be accepted in which you have presence of heart. What does it mean? It means that only that part of your Salat is mi'raj in which you have presence of heart. It means for a person who is traveling towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a divided heart and mind would stop him. When your heart is focused, your mind is concentrated, that's where you can ascend. But there are too many distractions. And sometimes these distractions are just on the surface. Sometimes these distractions go into our heart and then they start fighting each other. There are many people in my heart, many things in my heart that each claim control. ضرب الله مثلا رجلا فيه شركاء متشاكسون ورجلا سلما لرجل هل يستويان مثلا. Allah says, I give you an example. There are two people. One is a slave who has many owners, many masters. Imagine if you have to listen to many masters, or you are an employee in an office that you have too many managers. Everyone comes and says something. You don't know whom to please. You please someone, the other one gets angry. You go and apologize, the third one gets angry. What can you do? وَرَجُلًا سَلَمًا لِرَجُلٍ. But there is one person who has given his heart to one master. It's much easier. To please one master is much easier than pleasing many masters. Especially when this one master is also Sari or Raza. Ya Sari al Raza. No one is as easily pleased as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because Allah says, I don't want anything for myself. Are you all right? My servant, are you looking after yourself? I am pleased. I don't want you anything for me. So he is Sari or Raza. And he wants only our good. But anyone other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants something for himself or herself from us. Unless they are sincere, pure servants of Allah. Yes, again, if they are connected to Allah, they get a godly quality. But worldly people, no. They want something else. So, distraction can be superficial, like you have no concentration in your mind, you cannot study, you cannot do anything meaningful because you receive lots of emails and I don't know, messages and so on and so forth. And it can be even deeper. Your heart is occupied by many things. You don't know what to do. So, this is one of the challenges today. And we need to immunize ourselves. Discipline is very much needed. Amirul Mu'minin alayhi salam said, أوصيكما بتقوى الله ونظم أمركم. You know, it's in the first glance a little bit strange. Amirul Mu'mineen says taqwa and then brings to taqwa nazm. For us religious people, nazm has never been something so important that comes next to taqwa. We think nazm is good. If you can have it, it's good. But taqwa is the only thing that can help us. The only provision, the only zad. But Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam, with his wisdom and his insight, he knows that for human beings, and perhaps for us much more so today, you cannot have your taqwa without nazm, without discipline, without order. If you let people plan for you, or things force themselves to your life, and claim your attention and time and resources and energy and exhaust you, then you may lose even your taqwa. Because you end up not observing rights of many people and many things that are there over you. So, time management as one aspect of nazm is very important. And I think one of the greatest assistance that we can get for disciplining ourselves and disciplining our life is Salat. So I want to end with a little bit talk about Salat. Because I think if we do Salat properly, everything that we said will be achieved. First, I want to refer to some verses of the Quran. Ibrahim alayhi salam, as you know, he said in this beautiful prayer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Surah Ibrahim verse 40, رَبِّ اجْعَلْنِي مُقِيمَ الصَّلَاةِ وَمِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِي. Ibrahim, he is praying to become a person who can say Salat properly. رَبِّ اجْعَلْنِي مُقِيمَ الصَّلَاةِ. I believe everyone, in the same way that he is journeying towards Allah, he is journeying in his Salat or her Salat. Your Salat also would improve, proportionate to the progress that you make in your journey. If you want to see how good you are in your journey towards Allah, see how good you are in your Salat. Assess your Salat, and then you can assess yourself. Salat is a good test, a good laboratory. If I have no concentration in Salat, it means in my life I have no concentration. If I don't have tranquility in Salat, means in my life I have problem. I have not been remembering Allah. So, Ibrahim says, رَبِّ اجْعَلْنِي مُقِيمَ الصَّلَاةِ وَمِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِي. Also, elsewhere, Surah Ibrahim, verse 37, when he left Ismail and his wife there in Mecca, رَبَّنَا إِنِّي أَسْكَنْتُ مِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِي بِوَادٍ غَيْرِ ذِي ذَرْعٍ عند بيتك المحرم ربنا ليقيموا الصلاة. For example, if I'm going to find a place for my family and then travel for some years, then I should find a place that has nearest position to what is most needed. For example, if I have an ill child, I try to leave them next to a doctor or next to a hospital. If everyone is thirsty, I try to find them a place near a river. Ibrahim alayhi salam was very concerned about Salat, so he made sure that he leaves them next to house of Allah so that they can pray. If that was a place without water, without green, that was not the main thing. Wadan ghayra dhi zar, but Baytullah. Rabbana liyuqimus salat, so that they can say their salat properly. Musa alayhi salam, when for the first time received revelation, what did Allah tell him? Allah said in Surah Taha verses 13 and 14, وَأَنَا اخْتَرْتُكَ فَاسْتَمِعْ لِمَا يُوحَى. I have chosen you. This is one of the most beautiful things any human being has ever heard in dunya. A human being hearing from Allah that I have chosen you. I think this is one of the most beautiful things that anyone has heard in his life. فَاسْتَمِعْ لِمَا يُوحَى. Now listen to what is being revealed to you. إِنَّنِي أَنَا اللَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنَا. Because Tawheed is so important, as Alhamdulillah you mentioned. Everything starts and ends with Tawheed. إِنَّنِي أَنَا اللَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنَا. Two sides of the same coin. فَاعْبُدْنِي وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِذِكْرِ. Serve me, worship me, but in particular, Musa, أَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِذِكْرِ. If you want to remain in this condition of being a chosen person, you need to do Salat. Aqim as-salat. Why? لِلذِّكْرِ. Because as we said, everything goes back to dhikr. Isa alayhi salam, as you know, even as a newborn baby, he said, إِنِّي عَبْدُ اللَّهِ آتَانِيَ الْكِتَابِ وَجَعَلَنِي نَبِيًّا وَجَعَلَنِي مُبَارَكًا أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُ وَأَوْصَانِي بِالصَّلَاةِ وَالزَّكَاةِ مَا دُمْتُ حَيًّا. Salat. Luqman said to his son, Luqman was Hakim, and Hakim is the one that gives you the best of advices. What is, very important, something that has priority. Yeah, Hakim doesn't, divert your attention to secondary issues. He tells you what is the most important thing. Ya bunayya aqim as-salah. One of the advices of Luqman was aqim as-salah. And to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah said, "Utlu ma uhiya ilayka min al-kitab." Ya Rasulullah, recite for people, relate to people what has been revealed to you from the book. Means read the Quran for them, teach them the Quran. وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةِ. If, for example, a person comes to me and says, Sheikh Shomali, say your Salat, I feel, maybe offended. You are telling me say Salat? I'm not a child, I'm not, a person who is just getting baligh. Of course I say my Salat. But no. Even Allah says to Rasulullah, Aqim as-salah. What does it mean? It means that Salat is everything. And no one, no matter, in what level he or she is, there is always a way to improve your salat. There is always expectation from Allah that you improve your salat. And never say, for me, this is, too simple, too easy. No. Aqim as-salat. Can you say you have established salat? Maybe you have said your salat, but not you have established salat. Inna as-salata tanha 'anil fahsha'i wal munkar. First of all, salat stops doing bad things. This is even the first, not the last. If I say salat and still I am doing bad things, it means I have not been establishing salat. This is the first. Inna as-salata tanha 'anil fahsha'i wal munkar. But there is something even more. Because you don't want just to stop sinning. Our journey is not just not sinning. It's much more than that. We have to qualify ourselves for virtues. So, inna as-salata tanha 'anil fahsha'i wal munkar wa la dhikrullahi akbar. But remembrance of Allah is even greater. It's greater than not sinning. Someone said not sinning. I said not sinning is not the core of spirituality, because this is a requirement. Spirituality is more than that. وَلَذِكْرُ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ. I mentioned only one hadith also. This is the famous hadith that we know all the beginning of it, but maybe the rest of it is less heard. Imam Baqir alayhi salam says, As-salatu amududdin. Prayer is the pillar of faith. Then he continues, مثلها كمثل عمود الفسطاط. If you want to set up a tent, you need a pillar. Is there any special name for it? Amud in Arabic, yes, like a pillar. And then you need rest of the things. You would have some ropes, some nails. But if you don't have this pillar, other things would not work. This is the central thing. مثلها كمثل عمود الفسطاط إذا ثبت العمود ثبتت الأوتاد والأطناب. If this pillar or pole is stable and firm, the ropes and nails can be strong and firm. So, Salat is Amududdin, is the pillar for our faith. It keeps your faith together. It keeps you connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It keeps your heart in good condition, your mind in good condition, your akhlaq in good condition, your relation with other people in good condition, your discipline in good condition, avoiding haram in your control. This is Salat. So, why we are looking for something unheard? Why we are looking for, something strange so that we can become better? All the prophets and messengers are telling us, Salat, Salat, Hayya ala khayr al-amal, Hayya ala al-falah. Why we are looking for something else? So, we have to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a great asset, a great tool for remembrance of Allah is Salat. Salat is the best form of remembrance of Allah. And if we say our Salat properly, then outside Salat also, we can remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the time of your Salat and live with that beautiful memory rest of the day. Our Salat, inshallah, should become that good that outside Salat we enjoy the feeling, the condition that we had at Salat. And then when gets near the time of next Salat, you should feel so much missing Salat. Rasulullah used to say, with respect to Salat, I am like you when you are hungry and thirsty. You know, when you have had your meal, you enjoyed your food, so your hunger is over and you have good memory of the food. It was delicious food. After a few hours, again you start feeling hungry. And you want to repeat the same food if it was very delicious. Rasulullah said, with Salat, I am like you. You become hungry and thirsty for food and water. I become hungry and thirsty for Salat. But with a difference. When you eat and drink, your hunger and thirst are over. But my hunger and thirst for Salat never gets over. For someone like Rasulullah, you need to pull him out of Salat. His responsibilities bring him out of Salat. Otherwise, they want to say Salat all the time. You know, we cannot understand how Amirul Mu'mineen, how Imam Zainul Abidin used to, say 1,000 rak'ah, for example, every night. We cannot understand. We think it's boring, it's tiring. But for them it was not boring, it was not tiring. Actually, the rest of the day is tiring and boring. When you spend your time with your beloved, it's not boring. When you have to do some necessities of life, that's boring. But this is not something that we can force ourselves to do. We just should prepare ourselves so that inshallah that love for Salat comes. So my request is, we all invest more on Salat. For ourselves and also for our madrasas, our students. Let us, our madrasas, if God forbids they don't do anything, at least they make our students lovers of Salat. Focus on this. But you would see that this brings every other good. So, if they don't learn how to read Quran, if they don't learn, other things, if you make them lover of Salat, everything else they go after it. But it's very bad if for, 7 years, 8 years, 10 years, they come to madrasa and still they have to be forced for Salat. This is not good. This means we have failed. Their mind can be full of information about aqaid, akhlaq, ahkam. But the test of your success is only Salat. The test of your success is not to give them an exam or paper on aqaid and akhlaq or ahkam. The real test is Salat. The real qualification for teacher is love for Salat. And the real test for graduation is love for Salat. So we should focus on Salat. May inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us to have those beautiful experiences that his lovers had at the time of Salat. When in the middle of the night, they stand up before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and start praising Him. As we have in this beautiful hadith, قَامُوا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ مُتَمَلِّقِينَ. They do their best to praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They want to mention how much they love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They don't think of any problem. If they have problem, it's during other times. May Allah inshallah enable us to experience that close connection with Him in the time of Salat. And may inshallah our Salat be a Salat that would cover the rest of our life with light, with love, with inspiration, with motivation, with sincerity, with being away from anything ugly and immoral, inshallah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin.